Hello. Yeah, okay. Hello, this is McD the Beast, and this is McD Sports 4 coming to you today with my college football top 25 for our team. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up. Please subscribe to the channel. Really appreciate if you do that. This is for week 9. Sorry that it's not going to be out till Wednesday, early afternoon. But I had a lot of stuff early this week. I knew it was going to be tough to get it out Monday. I thought I will be able to get it out Tuesday, but some things popped up. So that's why you're not seeing it till now. But nevertheless, I'm still going to go ahead and give it to you. I'm going to try to get the college football pick video out tomorrow morning. I'm going to film that this evening and try to get it out tomorrow morning. But I'm going to go through the college football top 25 here for week 9. I do have a poll. I did make it before I saw anything else. This is my poll, and I'll just go ahead and explain what I think about each team. So we're going to kick off with number 25, Coastal Carolina. I'm usually don't put my face in these. It's usually I do a presentation, PowerPoint. I just go 25 through 1. But with time restrictions and all that and restraints, I'm just gonna go ahead and do it like this. It'll be easier for this week. So, but we'll go back to our normal mode how we do this next week. But number 25, Coastal Carolina. Um, Listen, Coastal Carolina lost to Appalachian State. Um, I mean, Coastal Carolina's resume was already pretty weak to begin with. I still think they're a top 25 team. I couldn't find any other team really, or couldn't bring myself to putting any team ahead of Coastal Carolina there at number 25. But you look at Coastal Carolina, that was just a devastating loss. I mean, at this point, I think Cincinnati's going undefeated. But Coastal Carolina, they had to go undefeated if they want to make that New Year's Six bowl bid, and they did not. And they aren't undefeated anymore. Just a disappointing loss to Appalachian State. So Coastal Carolina, number 25. And number 24, Houston. Houston only has one loss on the schedule. It's against Texas Tech, who fired the head coach. I'm going to talk about that a little bit at the end of the video here. But Houston, number 24. Um, the only one loss. They've beaten everybody else on the schedule. They still have, I believe, SMU. I don't think they have Cincinnati on the schedule, but Houston, number 24. Very impressive season. Dana Holgerson seems to have that team going in the right direction. I was a little bit critical of him going into the season because Dana Holgerson was the head coach of West Virginia. Houston was able to pry him away from West Virginia, and the results haven't really been there. So it looks like they're there this year. So number 24, Houston. Number 23, Iowa State. I'm gonna be honest with you. We're gonna talk about Oklahoma State here in a little bit. Uh, Iowa State got lucky with that spot. I think Oklahoma State got that first down there at the end. But nevertheless, I consider putting Iowa State in the top 25 last week. I couldn't bring myself to it. This week with the win, I put them in at number 23. I do think they are a top 25 team. If they continue rolling, they still have Oklahoma on the schedule. I believe they still have Texas on the schedule. But number 23, Iowa State. Number 22, Pitt. Pitt beat Clemson. They were 25 last week. They move up to number 22. Uh, and they beat Clemson convincingly. It is bad in Clemson, South Carolina right now. But Pitt looks like the best team in the Coastal. So number 22, Pitt. Number 21, Penn State. And listen, this might be a big overreaction because people are like, oh, Penn State, they moved 5 to 20 in the AP poll. In the McD Sports 4 pool, the only pool that matters, they moved from number 9 down to number 21. I wasn't really that high on Penn State going into the season. I thought they were a borderline top 25 team, and I think 21 is basically where they should be at. They have a big game this week against Ohio State, which, by the way, a bit of a preview of tomorrow's video. I do think Penn State loses that game, but Penn State number 21. Number 20, Auburn. Listen, Auburn, in my opinion, I mean, what can I say about them? I think they had a bye week, if I'm not mistaken. But Auburn, very possible if they run the table, they have a big game this week at home against Ole Miss. But if they run the table, um, with their 2 losses, one in the conference, against Georgia, Iron Bowl could be huge. So number 20 Auburn, number 19 Baylor. Baylor is a top 25 team in my opinion. They're number 19. They still have, I believe, they still have Texas and Oklahoma on the schedule. They already played their game against Oklahoma State, but pleasant surprise in Baylor at number 19. Number 18 SMU. They stay undefeated. They blew out Tulane. Number 18, SMU. They look like the second best team in the American. Number 17, Kentucky. Kentucky, in my opinion, Kentucky could still go 11-1. Um, I do believe Kentucky. I forgot who they faced. I believe they played last week. I absolutely forgot who they faced. That's my apologies right there. Did they play? No, no. They might have had a bye week. I don't know. I forget who. They must have had a bye week. Yeah, they had a bye week. I remember now. Kentucky number 17. Um, I honestly do not know who they have this week. I know their toughest opponent might be Tennessee though. So number 17 Kentucky, number 16 San Diego State. They won a top 25 matchup last week against Air Force. Um, Number 16 San Diego State. They look like the best team in the Mountain West. They really do. If they continue winning, maybe they end up in a New Year's Six Bowl if Cincinnati makes the playoffs. Number 16 San Diego State. Number 15 Wake Forest. They hung 70 on Army, but they did give up 56. I think the strategy in that game was, hey, we're just going to make this a track meet. And Wake Forest ended up going up to Army and winning that game by 2 touchdowns. So a good win for Wake Forest. They still have Clemson on the schedule. We'll see what happens there, but they look like the best team in the Atlantic. I don't know who's better, Wake Forest or Pitt, but it looks like it's going to come down to those two teams. Number 14, Oklahoma State. As I said, I think Oklahoma State got robbed on that spot. I really do. Um, but I still think they're a top 15 team. I only moved them down 2 spots. Iowa State, I thought was a top 25 team. I just couldn't bring myself to or make an argument of putting them in the top 25 over Pitt or Air Force. But Oklahoma State still controls their own destiny. You go ahead. You still have Oklahoma on the schedule. So uh, if you're Oklahoma State, I believe you have Kansas this week on the schedule. Maybe you can sit there and have a brag over Oklahoma fans, which I'll get into here in a minute about Oklahoma. Saying that you beat that you beat Kansas better than Oklahoma, but number 14 Oklahoma State, number 13 UTSA blew out Louisiana Tech, a Louisiana Tech team that some people were picking the upset in. UTSA looks like the best team in the conference USA, hands down. And they have a good shot getting to a New Year's Six Bowl as well. They've been a pleasant surprise. Their head coach Jeff Traylor, I believe, he's going to be named for some of these jobs, such as Texas Tech and maybe LSU. Number 12, Texas A&M. The Aggies, in my opinion, they are a top 15 team. They got a bit banged up. They had a bad loss against Mississippi State, but outside of that, Texas A&M, they look like a top 15 team. They really do. Number where are we? Number 11, Michigan State. Michigan State. Listen, big matchup this week against Michigan. We'll see what happens, but it's a big matchup. I don't think anybody expected Michigan State to be uh in the top 25 this year. So number 11, Michigan State. I don't think they're a top 10 team. I don't. But they have a good shot at home beating Michigan this weekend. They do. They're definitely could be in everybody's top 10, including mine. I know I've been a bit leery of them this year, but number 11, Michigan State. Number 10, Oklahoma. What an asinine performance by the Oklahoma Sooners. Being down 10-0 at halftime to Kansas. And you might think this is a big overreaction because I believe they only dropped like a spot or two in the AP. But Oklahoma, they were number 2 last week, and I still think they're a top 5 team. Don't get me wrong, but you cannot be beating Kansas by 12 points. And I do think Oklahoma caught a break on that play where Caleb Williams just snatched the ball out of his running back's hands. I do think, A, the running back crossed the line of scrimmage. And B, it might be considered a 4 lever. I mean, looking at it, maybe not, But that running back, in my opinion, did cost the line of scrimmage. So I think what happened was the league office called that referee and told him rule in Oklahoma's favor. So number 10, Oklahoma. Number 9, Notre Dame. They beat Southern Cal. Not a big surprise there. I don't think their resume is good enough to make the college football playoffs. They'll make a New Year's Six bowl. Number 9, Notre Dame. Number 8, Ole Miss. Listen, Ole Miss, big game against Auburn this week. Ole Miss, in my opinion, I don't think they're a top 8 team in the country, but the way the rankings are going this year, I have put them in number 8. Um, you look at Ole Miss. Um, I mean, Lane Kiffin. I mean, they have one loss against Alabama. If Alabama loses another game in the SEC, Ole Miss controls their own destiny. So, number 8, Ole Miss. This game against Auburn is going to be huge to decide because if Auburn still has, let's say Auburn loses this game, but then they run the rest of the season and win out, including that win against Alabama, and Ole Miss wins out. Ole Miss is in the SEC championship game. So this game, Auburn versus Ole Miss there, and Jordan Hare is a huge game. Number 8 versus number 20 there in the SEC West. Number 7, Iowa. They had a bye. Big game against Wisconsin on the road. Iowa still controls their own destiny. I know people like Minnesota does. I mean, if Iowa and Minnesota were playing right now, I'm picking Iowa to win that game. I think, and I know Minnesota beat my Terps last week, but at the same time, that had more to do with bad mailing. So number 7, Iowa. Number 6, Oregon. That win was impressive against UCLA on the road like that. I know I've been kind of critical about Oregon by not blowing out opponents. UCLA is a borderline top 25 team. That was an impressive win going on the road like that if you're Oregon. Um, you look at the rest of the schedule. They still have Washington. They still have to play the whole Pac-12 North, including Oregon State. It looks like they might be the second best team in the Pac-12 North there. That win against Ohio State is looking very good right now. I think if they make the playoffs, it's going to be because of that win. I don't think they're a top 5 team, so I put them in number 6. Number 6, Oregon. Number 5, Cincinnati. Listen, if you're Cincinnati, it's all about style points. You gotta blow out your opponents. You cannot be only beating Navy by 1. I know Navy wins that triple option, so I cut you some slack on that. But you gotta be blowing out your opponents. I still think they're a top 5 team. If I was forced to give a college football playoff pool, I'll put Cincinnati up at 4, honestly, because I do think they will end up in the playoffs at the end because I think they're gonna win out. But you got to be blowing out your opponents if you're Cincinnati. We had Cincinnati ranked number 3 last week. We moved them down 2 spots. Luckily, the AP pool didn't really go ahead and make a change to Cincinnati. The college football playoff pool comes out after this week. I'm interested to see where they put Cincinnati. My guess will be they'll put them in number 4, 5, or 6. There's 3 spots. There's no way they're putting Cincinnati in the top 3, especially after this performance by Navy. But Cincinnati, number 5. And then the top 4, if the playoffs happen today, this will be my top 4, even though I just said I'll put Cincinnati in there. But at number 4, and just flip this team that's at number 4. Number 4, Michigan. What can I say about Michigan? They were the only team last week, and last week was kind of a sleepy week. There wasn't really a top 25 matchup according to the AP pool, even though there was a top 25 matchup in the Mountain West. According to the McD Sports 4 pool, the number 1 pool, and the only college football pool you should be listening to. Michigan took care of business against Northwestern. And listen, that Northwestern, they did everything they could. They just don't have the Jimmies and Joes. But you watch around the country, and we'll talk about all these teams here in a second. Cincinnati barely survived. I'm not going to really say Oregon. I thought that game was going to be close either way. You look at Notre Dame, they struggled a little bit against Southern Cal. You look at Alabama, that game was competitive for a while. Ohio State, I'm not going to talk. I'll talk about them here in a minute. But another team, Oklahoma. So several teams were kind of sleepy throughout, especially during those noon games. Michigan was the only one, in my opinion, that really took care of business during those noon games. So that's why I went ahead and placed them in upper 4. And listen, they were a little bit sleepy in the first half. Don't get me wrong. But they woke up. They won that game 33-7. Michigan, number 4. Big matchup on the road against Michigan State. That's the game of the week. Number 3, Alabama. Alabama looks like the third best team in the country, in my opinion. As of right now, they still have big games, obviously, against Auburn for the most part, and if they make the SEC championship game, which isn't a given, it is not a given. There's paths for Ole Miss. There are paths for Auburn. Hell, there's even probably a path for Texas A&M. But you look at Alabama. Tennessee was competitive with you all for a while. They really were. Um, you guys did pull away though. You actually ended up covering, but which kind of angers me because I took Tennessee plus 25 and looked like a genius for 3.5 quarters. But number 3 Alabama, I think they're the third best team in the country. Number 2 Ohio State. I mean, what can I say about Ohio State these past few weeks? They blew out Rutgers, they blew out Maryland, they blew out Indiana. Now I know those are probably the 3 bottom feeders in the Big Ten East right there in any particular order, but Ohio State, they're taking care of business now. It looks like they found they found what works there. Number 2, Ohio State. They look like the second best team in the country right now. I'm interested to see how they look against Penn State. It is a top 25 matchup. Number 2, Ohio State versus number 21, Penn State. As I said, they still have the Michigan schools, so we'll see what happens. But number 2, Ohio State, and then number 1, Georgia. Georgia looks like the best team in the country. It's them and everybody else. They had a bye this past week, but it doesn't matter. Um, they have Florida this week. I think they're going to blow out Florida, or at least run away with it. Number 1, Georgia. So the teams I got left out, I dropped out 2 teams. Number 23, NC State. They lost to Miami on the road. That was a big win for Miami, by the way. Being NC State, that could maybe at least bail some of your season out. But as I say this on this channel before, whenever Dave Doran has expectations, it crumbles. So it did not surprise me that NC State went ahead and went down to Miami and lost that game. And then Air Force, listen, you're up at 24. You lost the top 25 matchup against San Diego State there. San Diego State is just a better team than Air Force. Now, I think Air Force probably still gets out of the Mountain Division. But you look at Air Force, number 24 Air Force. Last week they lost, so I just dropped them out. So I dropped up to 23 and up to 24 out. So I do want to talk about one other quick thing that happened in college football this past Monday, maybe Tuesday. I forget which day. They seem to correlate with each other. Texas Tech, they went ahead and fired their head coach, um, Matt Wells. Matt Wells got fired after 2+ seasons with a 13-17 record. They blew a 2-touchdown lead against Kansas State. If Texas Tech won last week, they probably are in the top 25. So I don't like the firing because I don't think he really got enough time there. I mean, he took over a coach that went below 500 as well. Um, you look at you go ahead. You look at the situation at Texas Tech. Now, I mean, you're in the Big 12. I mean, you're going to be getting some new teams into the Big 12. Some teams are leaving. I think Texas Tech is a place where you could win 8, 9 games consistently, honestly. And I think he was the only way of doing that. I mean, they were 5-3, one more win, they're in the bowl game. He did make a bowl game last year with his. I think they went 4-6 last year. They might have played in the bowl game because a lot of under 500 teams did. But the first year he went, I believe, 4-8. So if you want to say he went 4-8, then he went 4-6. If it was a full season, I'll go. Since it was most seasons are 12-game seasons, but it was a 10-game season for Texas Tech. I'll add 1 game on each side and say he probably would have had 5-7 season. This season he probably would have had 6-6 season, if you want my honest opinion. And he might have won 7-5. We'll see where Texas Tech ends this year. The 2 names to keep an eye on for this job, I think one of 2 names will get it. I believe it will either be Kendall Briles or Graham Harrell. I think it'll be one of those 2. They both have ties. Graham Harrell was the quarterback when during that magical 2007 season for them. I don't, and I just think Kendall Briles is eventually going to get a head coaching job, and I think he will be a good fit at Texas Tech. That's just my opinion. The head coach at UTSA, Jeff Traylor, is also another guy that I think is going to be considered for this as well. But the 2 names I'll definitely keep an eye on is Graham Harrell and Kendall Briles for this job. Kendall Briles, the OC at Arkansas. Graham Harrell, who might be considered for that Southern Cal job. The offensive coordinator there at Southern Cal. We do have a comment. How are you doing, Syracuse Buffer Sports? That was a big win for Syracuse last week on the road against Virginia Tech. I don't think they are a top 25 team. I don't. And Virginia Tech, they're a horrible team. Justin Fournette's going to be gone at the end of the year. But that was a big win there for Syracuse. And listen, Syracuse has been a lot better than what a lot of people think this year. I'll look at their resume here real quick since we're live and we're talking about it. But Syracuse has looked good. I mean, I know they lost to Rutgers earlier in the year, but they're 4-4, the 1-3 in the ACC. A lot better than what I thought they were going to be this year. They beat Liberty. A lot of people thought that Liberty had a chance to be a top 25 team. They lost a close game to Wake Forest. They lost a close game to Clemson. I picked them here to go ahead and beat Clemson. They at least covered. They went on the road, got a big win against Virginia Tech. Let's see what they do at home against Boston College. They still have Pitt on the schedule at the end of the season, but yeah, Syracuse, they've been better than what I thought they were going to be this year. But they're 4-4. They're definitely not a top 25 team, but that was a good win on the road there for Syracuse. But I just came on here. Sorry for going ahead and not having this top 25 out to Wednesday. Next week will be out Monday at the latest. But thanks for watching the video. Hit the thumbs up. Please subscribe to your channel. Greatly appreciate if you do that. This is McD the Beast signing off.